Sup y'all, Manny here, and as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a filmmaker. Sorry, it's just that I recently bought the 4K Steelbook edition of one of the best, if not the best, mobster movie of all time, Goodfellas. Now, is this really the best mobster movie of all time? Since I just finished watching it in glorious 4K, let's discuss and find out. Goodfellas released in September 1990, which makes it over 30 years old. Wow. Anyways, directed by Martin Scorsese and starring Robert De Niro as Jimmy Conway, Joe Pesci as Tommy DeVito, and Ray Liotta as Henry Hill, the main character. This film is based on a true story and adapted from the 1985 book Wiseguy by Nicholas Pileggi. Spoiler warning, as I am going to rat on this whole movie. You've been warned. Now, before I ever got to watch this movie, I used to hear about it all the time. Especially a scene in particular where one of the characters needs clarification on what the other character means by saying that he's a funny guy. Now, I first saw this movie when I was in high school, or a little bit after high school. They were giving it on TV, so after hearing so much about this movie, I decided to give it a chance. Bruh, from the opening scene, this movie got me. It starts in the 1970s as the wise guys here are just driving when they hear something and pull over to check it out, and then we get the classic body in the trunk trope. Damn, those stabs look brutal. It's definitely one of my personal favorite openings of all time. In fact, I paid homage to this opening in my own gangster movie, Redemption Drive, which you can catch right now in my channel. Back to Goodfellas, this movie mainly focuses on Henry Hill's life, as he goes through the ranks of the mob and all the crazy shit he does and sees. And from my research, this movie is pretty accurate to the real life events. From the Lufthansa heist they pull off, to all the people that get whacked, it's pretty much spot on. For the most part. Not 100% accurate, but yeah. So after that great opening, we jump back to 1955 to see Henry Hill's youth and see how his fascination with the gangster life started. Young Henry here is played by Christopher Cerrone. Sorry if I'm not saying that right. You know what? Full disclosure, I might be getting some names wrong here. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance for all the names I might butcher here. But anyways, I gotta say, this is a great job with the casting here because this kid looks just like a young Ray Liotta. Young Tommy as well, played by Joseph D'Onofrio, resembling Joe Pesci spot on. There's this one part where you see Henry feeling bad for a guy who just got shot, making him look much less of a psychopath when compared to Jimmy and especially Tommy. As you see later in the film, Henry never actually kills anybody here. Now in real life, from my research, Henry Hill claims he never killed anyone, though he would bury the bodies of those who did get killed. Now, that is hard to believe. You look at what it takes to be in the mob, and killing is definitely part of it. Especially if you're in it as deep as Henry Hill was. So I kept digging. I found this Howard Stern interview with the real-life Henry Hill. And in this interview, he got drunk and admitted that he killed 3 people. So just note, I'm gonna go with the movie's story, not real life. So in the movie, Henry Hill never killed anyone. Now, to continue. After young Henry gets pinched, meaning arrested, for selling cigarettes on the street, he gets let go. And then you see Jimmy come to him and tell him about the most important rules in life, which is, to them,
never rat on your friends, and always keep your mouth shut.
Remember that, it'll be important later. Now, probably the most famous scene in this movie, the funny guy scene. And yes, it is that good. It's funny, it's tense, it tells you a lot of what a loose cannon Tommy is. You can see why Joe Pesci won an Oscar for this role.
But I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to amuse you.
If you haven't already, just go see it for yourself. It's a great scene. This movie also has a lot of long takes. The most famous one being the long one-shot take of Henry and his wife Karen, played by Lorraine Bracco, walking through the back of the Copacabana club. Fun fact, I've been to the Copacabana a few times for freelance video gigs, but yes, very impressive with so much going on in the background. No CGI to make any artificial cuts. I read they did like 8 takes to get this right. This scene also shows Karen how much pull Henry has and impresses her. Henry has swag.
What do? What?
What do you do?
I'm in construction.
Now, more of my research here. I stumbled upon a YouTube channel for a former mob boss named Michael Franzese, and he talks about this scene in particular because he says that in the movie, Henry never looked so good, because in real life, basically, Henry did not have this much swag. If he wanted that special treatment, he would have to be with somebody else that's in the mob that was a bigger deal than he was. And yes, Michael Franzese knew Henry Hill and actually saved his life like 2 or 3 times. So there you go, another fun fact. Another one of my favorite parts, and one that holds a lot of weight in this movie's story, is the Billy Bat scene. Billy Bats jokes around a bit with Tommy about his shine box when he was younger, which Tommy doesn't take too kindly to that. So a big argument ensues, and later, Tommy gets his revenge as we come full circle to the movie's opening. This is where things start to go downhill for Henry here, no pun intended. He's still enjoying the life, but things are, just getting a little crazier than usual. After all, they just killed a made man, and that's a big no-no in the mob life. But before they bury Billy Bats, they first stop at Tommy's mother's house. It's supposed to be late at night, and if I'm reading this clock correctly, it's either 12 a.m. or 3 in the morning. But that don't matter. Tommy's mom is still gonna make them dinner that freaking late. Poor mama doesn't know they got a body in the trunk. Oh shit. It's that damn TikTok song. So annoying. Now, I don't have TikTok, but a few people I know listen to it around me. And that song, man, it drives me crazy. I hate it. It's like the equivalent to that dog face filter on Snapchat. Overused as And yeah, Tommy's character just gets worse and worse. From his racist remarks to shooting this poor waiter named Spider in the foot. Some time passes by and Spider stands up for himself and tells Tommy to go f himself. So what does Tommy do? Don't worry, because later on Tommy thinks he's gonna become a made man, but instead, he's gonna get what he deserves. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. Now here I go again with my research. But upon further research on the real life Tommy, it sounds like this version of Tommy is actually a bit watered down compared to the even bigger psycho monster that Tommy was in real life. Can you freaking believe that? In an interview with Henry Hill, he recaps a time where him and Tommy were driving around and Tommy randomly yells at some guy and then shoots him dead for no reason but to test out his gun or something. Like, what the f***? In the words of Michael Franzese, guys like that don't last very long. Towards the end of the movie, Henry starts doing and selling drugs. It's interesting to note that in the beginning of the film, like in the 50s, 60s and whatever, the mobsters would sell coats, cigarettes, and other stuff like that, instead of drugs. In fact, mob leadership did not want anybody selling drugs or have anything to do with it, as it brought too much attention, with the whole war on drugs and everything. And if anybody got caught selling drugs, they would get whacked. But in the movie and in real life, is that gonna stop Henry Hill? Of course not. There's tons of money to be made. So say goodbye to those long takes, because when Henry gets hooked on drugs, the movie just picks up the pace and you get these quick cuts to feel like Henry is feeling. What a rush. Just great filmmaking here with a shift in pace. And just look at Henry here at the end of his drug binge. Like, wow, he looks terrible. Nothing like he did in the beginning of the movie. And real quick, I also love this part right here when Henry hears over the radio that his crew pulled off the Lufthansa heist. When I get good news in the shower, that's exactly how I celebrate too. And no, I am not showing a clip of that. This heist made Jimmy so paranoid, he just starts whacking off his entire crew that was involved. He also wants to keep most of that money to himself. No honor among thieves. Henry goes from rich to poor a lot in this movie, and it's just crazy how he never saved any of it. Like, bruh, put some of that shit aside. I know they can't just go to a bank, but get a vault or something. So yeah, Jimmy's also gonna try to get Henry whacked, and Henry catches on to that. So Henry goes into the witness protection program and rats on everyone. And bruh, that has to be so scary. Breaking the most important rule, ratting out these psychopaths, especially when you know what they're capable of. Man, it's just scary. That part always got me with, the fear factor that's involved. All the rules were, out the window because they were killing made guys. They were, whacking off their own. There was no loyalty left in that group. So Henry basically got Jimmy before Jimmy got Henry. Their mob code obviously didn't mean shit at that point. Henry had to do what he had to do to survive and save his family. But even with all that, Henry still got a bad ending sort of, since You know, in the start of the movie, he talks about how much he hated being a regular person. And now look at him, a regular schmuck. Man, such a great movie. It's so rewatchable too. I could just sit there and watch it from start to finish, no problem. I basically just did that when I was looking over the film for this review one more time. And I'm here like, okay, I'm here to write a review, not to watch this whole movie again for the 100th time. Now that's amazing for a movie as long as this one at 2.5 hours. The cast is amazing. Not one bad performance in this movie. You see a few actors here too in small roles that you probably didn't know were in this movie, like Tobin Bell in a brief appearance. You know, that's freaking Jigsaw. Mike Starr, who was in Dumb and Dumber, and Samuel L. Jackson, but of course he got like the bloodiest death scene. I wonder why. Now, I haven't seen every mob movie ever made, but to me, this is the greatest mob movie ever, and the most rewatchable too. This might be a bit controversial, but I prefer this movie over Scarface, which had me kind of bored. And after watching the movie, part of the fun is to look up the actual events that happened that this movie was based on. For example, Henry Hill actually joined the military when he was younger, but that doesn't get mentioned in the movie. And according to Henry Hill, it was John Gotti who killed Tommy very slowly. They never found his body. It's just crazy how all this shit happened in real life. And as much as I love this movie as a work of art and as a, well, movie, I by no means look up to these people. And the movie doesn't want you to either. Trust me, growing up here in the hood, I'm glad I didn't fall into the street life. Love you, Mom. Great job raising all 5 of us. Goodfellas is a damn near perfect movie. Honestly, the only thing you could probably nitpick is that they're supposed to play characters that are in their 20s in certain parts of the movie when they're clearly older than that. But honestly, I don't care. I still can't believe that Martin Scorsese did not win a Best Director Oscar for this movie. Because I give Goodfellas a 10 out of 10. This is definitely my favorite Martin Scorsese film. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I highly recommend it. If you're into filmmaking or if you just like a good mob movie, this is it. Now, I got the 4K version of this movie and it does look good, but it's nothing out of this world. So honestly, if you were to get the Blu-ray version, you'll be just fine. One last fun fact here. Back in 2018, when I was in pre-production for my own gangster film, Redemption Drive, I got to meet Henry Hill's last girlfriend, Lisa Caserta. Sorry if I said that wrong. But yeah, she lived here in Connecticut. I only met her once in person to scout her home, and I believe she's told me that her and Henry lived in that house before he passed away in 2012. But now I don't know, because I looked it up and it said that Henry died in 2012 in California, not here in Connecticut, unless he was visiting there. But yeah, my memory of this is a bit fuzzy, to be honest. So yeah, don't quote me on that. Anyway, she did live here in Connecticut, and I was gonna shoot exterior shots at her home. But then shortly after that, I lost contact with her and she ended up, selling her house and moving away. But still, this is a pretty cool connection there that I have to Henry Hill, or as close as a connection, I could get to him. A cool gift that my fellow filmmaking friend gave me was this little frame picture of Goodfellas with 2 negative film strips in it. And yeah, that was an awesome gift. I also got one of these Henry Hill paintings from Lisa. Yeah, I'm just a big fan of this movie. And again, I'm not looking up to these wise guys. I'm just, a fan of the film, and it's also fun after watching it to look up the real history of all these events that unfolded. But yeah, with that, this has been a review of Goodfellas, just 'cause.